Hi there all, and thank you very much for tuning in for episode, what is number 7 of Mantell Associates Network. I am joined today by Mr. Ross Byrne. Ross is somebody who I've known now for probably just shy of 3 years. Ross is the CEO of a process chemistry R&D CRO, which is based out in Cardiff in the UK. Ross is currently leading a business in CatSci, which is roughly over now 50 employees and growing rapidly. And Ross, before we get started, thank you very much for coming on to Mantell Associates Network today. And really where I want to start with all of this is with being a CEO of an organization. I know you've got young children as well, and you mentioned at the start that you've moved into the attic to try and manage the business. What is life looking like for you day to day? How's business? How's everything?
Yeah, well, thanks for calling me. Day to day at the moment, obviously mid-pandemic, it's a challenge for all businesses. We've had to adjust being a chemistry company and being practicing scientist. Then all of my laboratory staff are still in operation. We've managed to, in the UK there was a lockdown, and we've managed to stay open throughout the whole lockdown period. It's been ongoing now for about 10 weeks. And my colleagues within the lab are still in operation, but the ones who are not essential to laboratory services are working from home. And yeah, I've been banished to the loft to get some peace and quiet for my 3-year-old and 9-month-old kids. So yeah, it's readjusting to working from home. So I spend 5 or 6 hours per day on Zoom or Teams, and it's important to try and connect to my colleagues, and at the same time try and make sure that everyone in the company are connected to each other. So yeah, a sort of hybrid between still practicing and working from home.
Absolutely. I know that you're someone who would have spent large amount of time in the office, normally in the lab, in the office, overseeing the business. How have you actually, you mentioned connecting with colleagues via Zoom, via Teams, video calls. How have you found that, and how have you personally found working from home?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think, I like to make that connection with people. It's now going to be a low touch, low travel, new normality, but actually being able to see your colleagues face to face, being able to understand their issues and challenges from day to day. We're trying to provide solutions for chemistry, for chemistry needs. So yeah, it's been able to actually connect interpersonally is a bit more difficult. I think now we're getting used to using, virtual tools like Zoom, which we're on now. So yeah, it's just been able to adapt. And I think the one thing, it's a challenge for a lot of people working from home, because of the work-life balance. Kids in the UK are no longer at school. So anyone that has, kids at school, they've got to balance that, looking after the children, and you could have 2 parents in work. So it's very difficult to get that work-life balance. So we're trying to support everyone whom, has that challenge. And also as well, mentally for people, not being able to go out and see friends and family is really challenging. So we're making sure that we have that support. We try and be as social as we can, over the virtual, conference softwares and such like you can use. So yeah, it's a challenge for everyone. And, I think coming out of the lockdown period now, I think we'll keep some of the, the benefits of, working virtually, of flexible working, really cutting down on, our travel has actually been quite good for the greenness and the efficiency and effectiveness of our of our sort of customer and sort of partner relationships.
Amazing. About the travel part, I mean, this whole podcast was, the first one I did was with Dietrich Bruchmann, the CEO of Nuvisan. The whole idea was that I'd be going across the globe, meeting CEOs and doing the video, and I had like this huge like box almost kind of thing which I was taking to bring everything with me. And actually the idea of doing the podcast and change it to this is been a huge benefit for us as well. So the travel side, and a lot of salespeople who I've spoken to who have adapted not only on the employee side but on the client side of managing clients as well, has completely changed it. I mean, For you as a whole and for CatSci as a business, I've spoken with different people. Some businesses have been hugely successful. Some businesses have struggled and tried to push through this period. How has everything been going for you since COVID-19 and really for CatSci as a business as a whole?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think, for CatSci, what we decided quite early on was not to push forward with our growth planning. So we're a high growth company, growing at roughly 50% compound annual growth per annum. So yeah, we decided just, to de-risk the business slightly and stop doing investments in the short term. And that's really just to make sure that, we consolidate as a company, and, ensure that, second wave or anything that comes in the future, we're well prepared for it. So as a business, we're still very busy. Lots of our projects had already started being commissioned, so we just continued to execute on them. We did find, from a new sort of business perspective, that some of our customers and prospective customers were being cautious. So we're not making decisions, but some were just still full speed ahead. So there's certainly two camps. And we're finding that the former camp, where people were being a bit more hesitant, especially in the US, are starting to really push forward their projects now as well. So I think our industry, compared to others, they've got this sort of V-shaped recovery. Many will be U, unfortunately, or even L-shaped. So yeah, I think, for us in our sector, compared to many other sectors, we're in, a sort of, a better, more resilient place.
Amazing. And what kind of support, I know CatSci is a business, of course, I know you as well. What type of support are you doing and efforts really in terms of development against the medicine inside the industry for COVID-19?
Yeah, so we are working with innovative pharma companies where they can repurpose their antivirals. So being a process research and development company, we're looking at what we can do to try and make their chemical processes to the antivirals more efficient and effective. We're also trying to work locally in the UK, with the vaccine innovation team, to see if there's anything we can do with regards to the components required for vaccines in the supply chain. So some of them will require chemistry. So we'll be able to offer, when it comes to that point for industrialization of any technology, to be able to support the the chemistry side there. So very much supporting the industry as a whole. And we're always here to help.
That is absolutely huge. And you touched on kind of some of the changes which you've had to adapt to, with, of course, video calls, with cutting down on investments, which I think pretty much every company on the planet is going to be doing that type of stuff at the moment. What other changes have you personally had to make, whether it's in your personal life or to the business of CatSci during this period?
Yeah, so for the people actually in the laboratory, we have to socially distance, so be 2 meters apart. So we had to rearrange all the offices. We actually cut the laboratory facility in two with a virtual wall. So we have two teams, essentially two shifts, and that minimises contact between the two teams. So we had to really think about our working practices to keep our staff safe and to minimise the potential for passing on the virus internally. For me personally, it's just been trying to readjust from working from home, and working, as a virtual board, to make decisions and to continue the business as uninterrupted as possible. I'm a big believer. The pandemic's a black swan, and what you want to do is to make sure you come out the back end of it, as positively and as strongly as possible. So we're looking at what we can do to transform our ways of working, more digital transformation. How can we, accelerate that digital transformation, internal and even for our customers as well. So we're looking at what we can do, with sort of digital platforms to be able to share data. We're actually going to try and see if we can create, a community platform for process R&D and for
Wow.
pharmaceutical development. So yeah, I think very much, try and just evolve our best practices to be ready for any future black swans. I think we were, compared to many businesses, quite well prepared, and that's because we actually do risk assess quite thoroughly, and it was part of my research over the last 18 months that some people believe there were going to be a recession this year anyway. So we already thought out, right, actually, what is our crisis plan if there is going to be a recession? What are we going to do? We came up with ways of working that we actually zonal cost control our business, and we managed to just evoke that contingency plan right from the start of March. So we were quite well prepared. So my recommendation to all entrepreneurs or business owners is, get yourself prepared for a crisis or for a black swan, because I mean they do come around, it's making swift decisions is always going to make you more resilient.
It's amazing that you were thinking in that way beforehand, because I think part of leading a business, or part of, even if you're an entrepreneur, part of actually setting up a company, being involved in that, is you've got to be thinking positive all of the time. And I think almost with me personally, I'll openly admit it, with me, the positive thinking always types of situations something like that is never going to happen. And you get so kind of busy in your day-to-day work and your day-to-day life that you kind of don't prepare for that. Luckily, in the job that we're doing in recruitment, it was everyone's got a laptop and a phone, do it remotely. But speaking with people like yourself and leaders across CDMOs and pharma, I'm realizing just the amount of work which has had to go in to not only maintaining business during this point, but also looking for the kind of opportunities in it and everything like that. So amazing. And from a staff perspective, and I know you've touched on things that you've brought into place with Zoom and stuff like that. How have you found it managing a business and managing all of your employees remotely? How have you adapted to all of those different things that are staff and employee related?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have to do is double down in empathy during this period. Everyone's anxious, anxious for themselves, for their health, for their family's health. There's a change to everyone's, personal situation. Whether they have to work even in office or laboratories or working from home. A lot of people are nervous about using public transport, nervous about obviously going into public places to buy even essential goods like shopping. So it's been able to just to support people's well-being is the most important thing. I think as I say, double downing in empathy is definitely something that we've decided to do as a company, and not push so much for growth. We're quite a ambitious company. We want everyone to help us on our growth journey. So we've actually relaxed our target utilization, and using any spare capacity that we have to help everyone professionally develop, so we can all become better scientists and or professionals afterwards.
Absolutely amazing. And you're the first person who I've spoken with who mentioned the word empathy, and it is actually that time period. And I'm not just saying this because you're on here, but it is genuinely amazing to hear it. We've spoken with many professionals across the market who, during a time like this, I've been interviewing for my team for people as well who have just been sacked. 16th of March came, sacked, out the business, and then they've gone back and still had the opportunity to contact their employer and have the opportunity for furlough. Employers still said no. And I mean, it's a time where you learn a lot about yourself, about the business, and about what type of company that you work for. And working in recruitment, we're speaking to people across our team day in, day out, and we are seeing a lot of horror stories, really. So really good to hear your kind of approach and the CatSci approach to how you've adapted to everything around that. Another thing that takes some adapting, which is sales and business development. And sales and business development is hard normally. It traveling, doing the job itself takes guts and courage and hard work. And during a time like this, you'd imagine it's even more difficult. How have you found the market in terms of sales and business development, and how have you guys maybe adapted to what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think from March and April, many businesses were closed to have conversations because they were focusing on their own risk mitigation plans and perhaps looking after their current projects. But I think since the start of May, we are really having great virtual meetings with prospective customers, and we've decided to offer a 360 virtual tour to showcase our facilities and showcase our people. So that's been live for about 4 or 5 weeks. We're working on version 3 at the moment. So yeah, it's been able to still showcase what we can do. And I think actually, many companies have rigid procurement and engagement processes for new business. And I think lots of customers are evolving these now as well, because even if there is mitigation for a second wave, many innovative pharma companies will have restricted travel for quite a long time. It will be business essential activities only because they want to protect the well-being of their staff. So I think being able to work more digitally and virtually is here for at least another 12 months. And people still have the projects to progress. So being able to make decisions and to be able to select vendors, suppliers, generate sales for companies like myself still have to happen. So I think everyone's adapting and evolving, and we're making sure that we're well placed to be able to, to communicate and to qualify if we're a good fit for any opportunity.
Amazing. So with the virtual tour, just out of interest, is it on your website? Do you send it across to potential clients? Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah. So we send it across to potential clients. We haven't got it on our website yet. So if anybody wants a virtual tour, then we just have to contact us it's on social media. I think there's actually a link on our website as well. So yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah, it's a proper 360 virtual tour. We had someone come in with a camera, obviously 360 camera, go around the whole facility. Wow. We're actually layering on, so it's like augmented reality at the moment. We're layering on labels, and then we're stopping, and it's as if you're talking to key stakeholders on Zoom. So they'll be talking through essential workflows and such like. So it's just like a 30-minute, 40-minute tour of our facilities. So yeah, it's been a bit of an undertaking, but it looks good. Yeah, we've got 9 of my colleagues, 10 in total, are doing a piece to camera. So yeah, it's been an experience.
You've got everyone behind the lens basically inside CatSci, which is something like that as well is actually really good for if you're looking to bring people into the business during a time like this, in terms of recruitment, in terms of staff, people who aren't able to come to your site. And I know, of course, you can have Zoom calls, which is how I'm actually hiring for my team and how we're encouraging a lot of our clients to hire. But for you to just go check out our website, or we can send you across a virtual tour to what our facility is like, so that people get more of a feel for the business, is actually a really, really good idea. And it lines up nicely to how have you what has your stance been on recruitment during this time period inside CatSci, and how have you adapted to the situation?
Yeah, so aforementioned, we went into this sort of cost controlling zone at the start of lockdown from sort of early March. We've relaxed that now, and we're actively recruiting, we're actively hiring across 3 different functions in the organisation. So scientifically, for the laboratory, and our enabling functions of finance and HR, we're looking to recruit too. So now we've relaxed some of our sort of controlling measures to ensure that we strengthen as quickly as possible. So yeah, I think we want to get back on track as quickly as we can, so that we can meet our targets and continue the great growth journey we're on.
Amazing. I mean, another thing here is what's going on in the world right now with COVID-19 pandemic is absolutely crazy. The key point is it could happen again. And they're talking about a kind of second wave coming. What kind of procedures and processes have you and Capsize set up in place to kind of adapt to that? And do you think you're better prepared than you've even been this time round for that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at previous pandemics, the second waves can be significantly more than the first wave. So I think we've all got to be prepared for the eventuality of a second wave. Yeah, obviously the virus itself, I mean, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, is not very well understood if it's going to be seasonal, like the flu virus, and we may not get a spike until the back end of the year. But no, we're making sure that we socially distance. If any people have to travel public, then we would advocate they have to wear a mask. Make sure everyone's provided with hand gel, so on and so forth. But essentially, low touch, low travel is what we'll advocate. Business essential only for traveling, and yeah, make sure that everyone can minimise contact with with people whilst working. Is what we will do, and making sure we stay abreast of all the good scientific information. In the UK, they're looking to test, track and trace. So we'll make sure that we are rapidly responding to testing, tracking and tracing. And also as well, we'll probably look to, if there's a robust private option for the antibody test to see if you've had COVID-19 and there's scientific data to back up you have some level of immunity. Again, just to relieve people's anxiety, we would offer that as a service from CatSci, to our staff. We might even extend that to other people that we stakeholders that we interact with as well. So yeah, it's very much we have to be very well prepared for it. But the take home for me is low touch, low travel is with us to stay for the moment. And the more that we can do digitally, we as a company, we're only a small company, as you say, soon to be 50 people, we're just under 50. Our travel budget, estimating is about £10,000 a month.
Yeah.
So we can redeploy that money into other parts of the business by working virtually. So not only can you maybe be more efficient and effective with time, you can be a lot greener. We have, as a business, quite high green matrices for our customers' processes, but also for our own practices. So being able to reduce our carbon footprint significantly is actually a great thing. And I'm hoping, coming out the other end, that many of the sectors, not just the pharmaceutical sector, will be more responsive to reducing international and national travel, and doing things more using virtual platforms, because I don't think we want to have deglobalization, but I think being able to minimize travel is only going to benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about the 10,000 that you spend in regards to travel on average per month inside CatSci, and now you're investing it into different parts of the business. It made me think, with that money which you're investing into different parts of the business, and with all of the things that you've set up inside the company, with everything which has had to be brought into place, and listening to you, all of the kind of risk assessments, all of the being careful in regards to staff, making sure that you're set up for a second wave, do you think your business has got stronger because of this?
I like the term anti-fragile. Again, it comes from it comes from Taleb, and he wrote the book Black Swan, and it's all about you want to try and be better and resilient. So coming out of a crisis, coming out of an existential threat, how can you be better? And we're trying to make sure we come out of it. I do generally think it will be V-shaped for our industry, but how can we come out of it better and stronger? So I think we're on that path, and certainly up in my loft at the moment, spending time when I've got time, is how thinking about strategy and thinking about how can we evolve our best practices, to be able to capitalize on opportunities, because there'll be opportunities in the marketplace to say, things are changing, practices are changing, the way people do business is changing, so we want to be at the vanguard and capitalize on that.
Amazing. One more point I'd like to cover. You've said some absolutely brilliant stuff throughout all of this, but what piece of advice would you give to other business leaders and entrepreneurs right now?
Probably the one I would say is try and reimagine your business. I think what's happening is it's essentially accelerating into 10 years into the future with regards to technology. Whether it be through using artificial intelligence, machine learning, digital platforms, being able to, just capitalize on this digital transformation. So reimagining your business. I'm lucky enough to be part of the Goldman Sachs alumni for the 10,000 small businesses in the UK. It's a course I went on last year. I would recommend it for any aspiring entrepreneur and business leader. And it's amazing how businesses have pivoted that have had problems. So these are businesses that are hospitality businesses, or businesses that have essentially been shut down, and they had to think, well, what can I do? So they maybe create online marketplaces, or they actually do something completely different. There's a gin distillery, and they're making obviously hand sanitizer to create revenue, and they had to move, rather than obviously 90% of revenue being through pubs and through restaurants, so in trades, they had to move to selling, to business to consumer, so B2C. So doing these pivots and continuously, just trying to reimagine. A good book, and I'm a bit of a strategy nerd. Is a second bounce. Think about where you believe business is going to be in 5-10 years time. Most people, when they align their business, align it to the first bounce. Actually follow current market trends. Yeah, it's a bit like everyone's chasing that football, right? And you want to be the striker, or just hanging outside the 18-yard box to score the goal, because everyone's chasing the ball. So you got to think about, right, where is business going to be? Where can I create value? What are the market's needs? What are our customers' pains and gains going to be in 5 or 10 years' time? Most people just focus on the now, and that's what I think will allow people to continuously grow and evolve, is to be creating the trends rather than following the trends. So yeah, I think that's where people should really have their headspace.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And about the trends and about trying to reimagine your company and looking into the future, there's part of me talking to you that thinks that maybe COVID has just sped up what was naturally going to have to happen in business anyway, for a lot of pharmaceutical companies, and even for headhunting firms, for any companies. My uncle owns a freight forwarding business in terms of transportation, which has naturally, I believe, must be struggling a little bit more than a lot of companies. And I know that he's thinking of ideas to think into the future. And it does make you think, why was nobody doing a lot of this stuff beforehand? Zoom calls, a lot of it. But that is it. Ross, absolute pleasure for having you on today. Thank you so much for having you on, and I will talk to you very, very soon.
Okay, thank you. All the best.